What if, one night, you found a door in your building that was never there before? It's a plain, unassuming door, maybe with peeling paint and a tarnished knob. The thing is, no one else sees it. Your neighbors, your landlord even, your friends, they all look at you like you're losing your mind. They walk right past the empty space where you see it. But you know it's real, because every time you pass by, it whispers your name. Tonight's story isn't about a haunted house. It's not about ghosts rattling chains in an attic. It's about a room that was never supposed to exist. Our story begins with Maya. Like many of us, she was just looking for a good deal in a tough housing market. She stumbled upon a 2-bedroom flat in an old apartment block on East Hollow Street. The rent, half the market price. It felt like winning the lottery. The landlord, a gruff man who barely made eye contact, said the building was old, but solid. The neighbors were quiet, a little too quiet, if you asked me. The kind of quiet that feels heavy, like it's holding its breath. On her very first night, as she was unpacking boxers and dreaming of her new life, Maya noticed something strange. She was looking at the floor plan the landlord had given her, a crumpled piece of paper she'd almost thrown away. According to the drawing, apartment 9 bytes, her apartment should have a solid exterior wall on the east side. But when she knocked on her bedroom wall, it felt hollow, flimsy. And sometimes, in the dead of night, she thought she could hear faint, muffled footsteps from the other side. She'd pressed her ear against the cool plaster, but the sound would stop, as if it knew she was listening. She tried to brush it off. Old buildings make noises, right? Pipes groan, wood settles. It was probably nothing. Then came the third night. Maya was coming home late from work, exhausted. As she walked down the dimly lit hallway toward her apartment, her keys jangling in her hand, she stopped dead in her tracks. At the very end of the hall, where there had only ever been a blank wall, there was a door. It was made of old, dark metal, with streaks of faded green paint peeling off like sunburned skin. There was no number on it, no peephole, nothing. Just a simple tarnished brass knob. The air around it was cold, a deep, penetrating cold that made the hairs on her arms stand up. You know that feeling, right? The kind of chill that has nothing to do with the temperature. The next morning, she saw her neighbor, Mr. Hain, getting his mail. He was a sweet old man who'd lived in the building for 30 years. She decided to ask him. "Mr. Han," she started, trying to sound casual, "did they install a new door at the end of the hall?" He looked at her, his kind eyes wide with confusion. He followed her gaze down the corridor. "What door, dear?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "There's no door there, miss. There's never been one." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She turned to look, but the door was still there, mocking her. And as she stared, her blood ran cold. The doorknob, it turned. Slowly, deliberately, all be itself. A silent, chilling invitation. That night, sleep didn't come easy. Maya lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak and groan of the old building. At precisely 3:17 a.m., she was jolted awake by a sound. Knocking. It was coming from behind her bedroom wall, the one that felt hollow. It wasn't frantic. It was slow, deliberate. 3 distinct knocks. A pause. Then 3 more. Knock. Knock. Her hands shaking. She grabbed her phone and hit record. She had to have proof. She wasn't crazy. She recorded for a full minute as the knocking continued. Then, with a trembling finger, she pressed play. There was no sound. No knocking. Only a wall of white noise. A loud, hissing static that filled the silent room. But as she listened, straining to hear anything, a voice emerged from the static. A whisper, so soft, it was almost like a breath on her ear. Maya, it came from inside the wall. The next morning, she was on the phone with the building manager, her voice frantic. She explained everything. The door, the knocking, the whisper. He sighed, annoyed. "Listen, lady," he said. "I'm looking at the original blueprints right now. The 9th floor has 3 units. 9A, 9B, and 9C. That's all there is. There's no space for another room." He hung up before she could say another word. But Majak knew. She knew what she saw. She knew what she heard. That night, she decided she was done being afraid. She was going to find out what was behind that wall. Armed with a hammer from her toolbox, she stood in her bedroom, facing the hollow spot. She took a deep breath. The first strike echoed through the apartment. Dust and plaster rained down. Crack by crack, the wall began to give way. With every hit, her resolve grew stronger. Finally, with a loud crunch, a huge section of plasterboard crumbled, revealing the darkness behind it. She shone her phone's flashlight into the hole, and what she saw was impossible. It wasn't pipes or insulation. It was a room, a hidden apartment, perfectly preserved, as if frozen in time. It was fully furnished with old, dusty furniture. An ancient television set in the corner was on, its screen filled with flickering static. In the center of the room was a small dining table, and on that table was a single photograph in a tarnished silver frame. Her curiosity overriding her fear, she squeezed through the hole in the wall. The air in the hidden room was stale and heavy. She walked over to the table and picked up the photograph. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a picture of her, smiling, standing right in this very room. But that wasn't the most terrifying part. She turned the photo over. Scrawled on the back in faded ink was a date, from 2 years before she had ever even heard of East Hollow Street. Panic seized her. This was wrong. This was impossible. She turned to run, to scramble back through the hole, into her own apartment, into sanity. But the hallway had changed. The lights in her apartment were flickering violently, and her front door was gone. Just a solid wall stood where her exit should have been. Then she heard it. Behind her, coming from the depths of the hidden room, the sound of footsteps. Slow, dragging. The sound of something heavy being pulled across the floor. Getting closer. She dropped her phone. In her terror, she didn't realize it was still recording. The last thing the camera captured was a dark, shadowy hand reaching out, its long fingers wrapping around her arm, pulling her back through the wall, back into the impossible room. The next morning, the landlord used his master key to enter apartment 9B. The rent was late. He found the place completely empty. All of Maya's things were gone, as if she'd never been there at all. The only thing left behind was her phone, lying on the floor in the bedroom, its screen dark. When the police later reviewed the footage, they found nothing but hours of static. But for a single, terrifying frame, just 1 second before the video ended, you could see Maya's reflection in the dark screen of the old TV in the hidden room. She was smiling. An empty, vacant smile. If you ever find a door in your home that wasn't there before, don't open it. If you hear whispers from your walls, ignore them. Some rooms aren't meant to be found, because sometimes the room finds you first. But what if the door doesn't stay closed? What if every time someone disappears, the room moves? A new building, a new floor, a new tenant. And maybe tonight, it's in yours. Stay tuned for part 2, The Room That Moves. Thank you for watching. If this story chilled you to the bone, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Sleep well.